3 News Now this week.
Tonight we have a story to share with you that might be triggering for some. We are learning more about a sexual assault that was reported at a fraternity house at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It happened earlier this week, but today Chancellor Ronnie Green announced the university would be closing the fraternity house and suspending operations of the Phi Gamma Delta chapter at UNL while the investigation is ongoing. Now, the chancellor also revealed the fraternity was already on probation before this incident. 3 News Now reporter John Kipper joins us live in Lincoln. John, tell us more about the case and what people at the university are saying.
Well, Courtney, behind me is the Fiji house where the alleged sexual assault took place this week, and it's been fairly quiet all day long. And as you mentioned, Chancellor Ronnie Green announced today that it shut down pending the university investigation. Now, it was 4 years ago where the fraternity was suspended for numerous violations of the school's code of conduct. Now, speaking with students today, it's clear that this alleged assault had a major impact. UNL Police Chief Hassan Ramza said over the phone that campus police are actively investigating a sexual assault that occurred sometime on Monday night or Tuesday morning, saying they're looking at all possible angles and circumstances. When they first heard about it, multiple female students took the news hard.
Shot to the chest. It kind of makes you feel like, how come my safety isn't prioritized? How come women as a whole, how come our safety isn't prioritized?
In a statement, Chancellor Ronnie Green said that they're committed to a safe campus environment and that, quote, no one should be a victim of sexual assault or harassment. We have taken a number of steps to provide additional support and reporting mechanisms for our campus. The allegations come 4 years after Phi Gamma Delta, known as Fiji, was suspended as a member of the UNL Greek community. That conduct included multiple instances of reckless alcohol use, sexually inappropriate behavior, and a pattern of sexual harassment. They were recently reinstated on a probationary basis.
It is super frustrating. It's just like, we knew this was a problem in the past. They're reinstated and not even the first day of school is completed and we have another issue.
That's Carissa Caraway, a senior at UNL, who has taken different routes home to avoid the Fiji house on campus in the past. That's because what she's heard from others.
I knew like a week coming here, their reputation at that house, and it wasn't a good one.
She's not alone, as Jennifer Barrett was also told to stay away.
Even the day I walked in as a freshman, people told me that.
Both women attended a protest at the frat house Wednesday night in which hundreds yelled the alleged perpetrator's name and that they want to see the university ban the fraternity permanently.
The fact that they have this prolonged reputation and they're still allowed to be here, I think they definitely should be kicked off campus. Enough is enough, and how many more girls are we going to sacrifice in their safety so that they're able to organize? And
it's a bad place to be, and I want to feel safe on campus, and I want everyone around me to feel safe on campus as well. So I want the admin to do something about it and to do some real action that shows that these actions that they have done are not okay.
During the protest, many in attendance received this Snapchat video, apparently airdropped from Fiji frat members who are seemingly laughing at what was going on outside. The woman we spoke with says it proves their point. Fiji needs to go.
if you can laugh the day after someone was assaulted in your house, then that just shows you what kind of people they have there.
Yeah, it really shows their lack of empathy towards the victim. It shows their true characters as a fraternity as well as people.
Now, I was hearing before Chancellor Ronnie Green made his announcement that there were going to be more protests in the area of the Fiji House, the spot where I'm standing right now, with many just saying that they want the university to take a harder line with Fiji than they did 4 years ago. Reporting in Lincoln, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
And in a statement from the local chapter of Phi Gamma Delta, they say, "We are taking these allegations very seriously as they absolutely do not meet our fraternity code of conduct, and that as the investigation continues, we are prepared to take immediate, appropriate action to ensure the safety and security of all who are part of or visit Phi Gamma Delta."
The judgment of 2 members of the Omaha Public School Board have been called into question after pictures some are calling inappropriate have surfaced. Partially nude pictures of board member Mark Snow have been posted to his public Instagram account. Pictures show him naked with a towel covering his groin. Others show close-up shots of his pelvis. Concerns have also been raised regarding board member Ricky Smith after he posted a picture wearing a shirt containing an expletive.
As a school board member who represents thousands of youngsters who get themselves in trouble with putting pictures on Facebook and all of those kind of things.
C.T. Williamson says she has a number of family members and loved ones who attend OPS. She adds she was offended by the pictures.
Is that a message for over half of the constituents that you're in service for? It's, you know, over half of the school district consists of girls.
Williamson says posting these pictures to public accounts as representatives of the community who make decisions for children is in poor judgment. She says she has spoken with other community members who have similar thoughts on the issue.
I think that they have been very good in the positions on the school board. Like I said, I think that this is a bad decision on both of them's part, and I'm certainly not out to crucify that as not my makeup, but I do want to make the community aware that, okay, this is what and who we voted in.
Snow did not respond to requests for comment. We did speak with Smith, but he never returned calls after we attempted to set a time. Smith has since taken to Facebook to criticize KMTV for working on this story. Reporting in Omaha, Alyssa Curtis, 3 News Now.
Today, Governor Ricketts announced that only 25% of all hospital beds in the state are available, 4% less than we saw during a peak of this pandemic in November. His data shows that COVID only makes up for about 11% of those hospitalizations, but staffed beds in Nebraska are dwindling regardless. Because of this, he has declared a hospital staffing emergency for the entire state. The emergency declaration makes it easier for retired and new healthcare workers to get to work to fill that need by deferring and suspending some of the usual requirements. Now, this emergency declaration goes through the end of the year, but the governor says if things don't improve, there could be even more measures put in place.
The staffing issue, am I open to further measures? Yes, absolutely. So this is a preliminary step to address the hospital staffing emergency we have right now, but we'll continue to watch what happens with regard to hospitalizations and may make further steps down the road.
Ricketts also announced a new directed health measure which will suspend elective surgeries for a month at hospitals throughout the state.
Some of the hospitals are already taking steps to be able to do that, but we're going to make it mandatory here in Nebraska to be able to help free up hospital capacity to take on some of the other patients that are coming into the hospital, both non-COVID and COVID patients.
Ricketts says they'll be keeping an eye on data when it comes to future health measures, specifically hospital occupancy. COVID data on a statewide level is only available to the public on a weekly basis, and hospital occupancy rates are not listed, just the number of hospitalizations. Reporting in Lincoln, Jessica Edson, 3 News Now.
Local nurses who've been treating COVID patients for months couldn't believe that Nebraska is trying to recruit nurses with a mailer like this. It asks local nurses if they are looking for a new job and emphasizes that nursing jobs for state government encourage but do not require COVID vaccines. The state is also placing online ads seeking nurses at the state's nursing homes for elderly veterans. Those ads, too, emphasize the state's lack of a vaccine mandate. Lincoln nurse Catherine Wolverton was shocked by the flyer on Monday.
That felt really frustrating to me. For us to try to attract people for jobs by saying that they don't need to be vaccinated, it's again not believing in these evidence-based facts that this will protect our community. And if you're working with an elderly population, you're putting them at additional risk by not being vaccinated yourself.
State Senator Carol Blood of Bellevue says she sent the governor a letter seeking an explanation. The letter says she heard from her constituents worried for family members at the Eastern Nebraska Veterans Home.
They feel that we should clearly address how the decision was made. How did the executive branch decide that we needed to start recruiting people that were not vaccinated?
John Hilgert, who leads Nebraska's Department of Veterans Affairs, says people with loved ones at local veterans homes know they're getting good care. The state tests vets' home employees that have been vaccinated once a week. It tests those that have not been vaccinated every 48 hours. They require masks.
We have unvaccinated teammates in the state that have served admirably throughout the entire COVID epidemic. Our agency-wide vaccination rate is, I believe, around 70+%, which is over the average, okay? And we still encourage vaccinations. However, we're not going to mandate it.
Taylor Gage, a spokesman for Governor Pete Ricketts, told 3 News Now that the governor made the decision to pursue nurses opposed to vaccine mandates himself. He said, quote, "At the governor's direction, the State Personnel Division consulted with state agencies to develop this recruitment effort. And he and state human resources leaders chose to do so after local hospital systems began announcing their mandates." Gage says the governor heard from healthcare workers complaining about the loss of choice. He said the mandate could lead to, quote, "more nurses leaving the profession." The state did not yet know how much the ad campaign would cost taxpayers, but Gage says helping the state hire unfilled positions was the right choice. The recruiting push hits as Nebraska faces a surge of coronavirus cases because of the Delta variant. Kids have headed back to school too, including many without masks. Local medical and public health professionals have recommended vaccination and masking up indoors as ways to slow the spread of the virus. The governor says he still opposes vaccine and mask mandates, preferring to encourage people to make the best choices for themselves. Aaron Sandiford, 3 News Now.
Dr. Hughes says that when it comes to this pandemic, we're a little worse than where we were a year ago. And to maintain the human connection we all need, we need to wear masks.
In Omaha, we have been lucky not to see the hospitalizations, the ventilator usage, and the deaths that are on our PEDS units here that other cities in our country have been seeing.
Dr. Hughes making an emotional plea at the Board of Commissioners meeting.
But what has happened is that many of those kids continue to take COVID home to their families and infect their parents, their grandparents, their friends, and others who may not yet be vaccinated or whose immune systems just aren't up to the task.
Douglas County Commissioner Mike Friend shared his skepticism surrounding the politicization around a mandate.
I don't trust the media. I don't trust the information that's being disseminated. I trust your information. This is clear. The metrics are clear. But I want to make decisions going forward that are not politically based.
Right now, the transmission risk in Douglas County is high. For masks to come off, Dr. Hughes says we need the risk to be low or moderate. She lists a journey of immunity.
We want either an approval or an emergency use authorization for those kids that are under the age of 12. So basically the 5 to 12-year-old age range. And then we want to allow at least 8 weeks for families to get those children in, get their kids vaccinated.
As COVID cases rise across area school districts, Dr. Hughes recognizes there will be challenges ahead. Adding another layer of protection is how the county will make it out of all this uncertainty.
The important thing is keeping kids in seats. They cannot learn effectively if they're not in seats. This little piece of cloth helps us keep kids in seats.
If approved by the state, it could go into effect tomorrow. However, given the state's stance in the past on mask mandates, it is unlikely the state will approve this latest request. The next move would be for Omaha City Council to approve a mask mandate for the city like it did last year, but that could take weeks to put into place. In Omaha, Isabella Basco, 3 News Now.
Right now, the next steps are the county has exhausted all means.
Douglas County Commissioner Chris Rogers is worried about the direction this pandemic is taking.
We saw this last year. You don't need to get kicked in the butt twice to understand where things are going on. I mean, we saw this last year, we see where it's going, and right now, we're trying to get ahead of this so the virus does not have the chance to mutate.
But the next course of action is out of their hands. So what happens next? Commissioner Rogers says that cities under their own authorities can now set their own mask mandates.
So instead of us being able to have a complete coverage of the county with the mandate to bring the numbers down, it could be spotty based on which jurisdictions choose to implement the mandate.
Any single council member can do a request to law to ask for a mask mandate to be put on our agenda to vote on. No council member has done that at this time.
Omaha City Council member Amy Melton wants schools and businesses to have a choice of whether or not to impose a mask mandate.
I don't believe that the government should be having mask mandates that apply to everyone all over the board.
In a statement to 3 News Now, Councilmember Pete Festerson says in part, "I will continue discussing it with council members and the mayor, but there's no consensus at the moment, and it would take at least 5 weeks unless the public health director is able to take the action herself." Still, Rogers is hoping for consistency.
We say we believe government is best exercised at the local level. The local level wants to do this, and we're just asking that you respect that, but also be consistent in the fact of where the mark is set. The goalpost keeps moving.
In Omaha, Isabella Basco, 3 News Now.